Japan just gave Ukraine an all-seeing eye in the sky that's going to transform its approach to its war against Russia. Putin is shaking in his boots, and he should be. Thanks to Japan, Ukraine can now hit Russia harder than it ever has before. And it all comes down to 3 words: synthetic aperture radar, or SAR. On April 22nd, Japan announced that it had agreed to provide satellite intelligence to Ukraine via its SAR satellites. That intelligence would add to the geospatial satellite imagery and data Ukraine was already receiving from other nations, and the move represented a huge shift in Japan's cooperation with Ukraine. The new Voice of Ukraine noted this in its report on the decision, quoting the Deep State Monitoring Group as saying this is the first ever step of this level of cooperation from Japan. The data will be provided by the Japanese Institute IQPS. These IQPS systems have been integrated into the intelligence platforms used by Ukrainian Military Intelligence, or HUR, and they will be responsible for providing battlefield imagery the likes of, which has only been seen in a limited capacity before. How? Well, to answer that question, we first need to dig into what SAR is. According to ISI, SAR works differently from traditional satellites. These other types of satellites are essentially sent into orbit around Earth, equipped with powerful cameras they use to take pictures that makes them vulnerable to the elements. If there's cloud coverage, a regular satellite can't break through to get a shot of the ground. Plus, the images returned, though often high quality, are also zoomed out to a point where it's difficult to spot specific pieces of equipment or vehicles beyond simply confirming that they're in the location the satellite is aiming its camera at. SAR changes the game. ISI says that SAR works by sending discrete radar pulses from an antenna built into the satellite directly to the ground. These pulses create echoes, with each of these echoes creating data that is fed back to the satellite. From that data, the satellite can form high-definition images of the Earth's surface regardless of weather there's cloud coverage or some form of obstruction that would block a traditional satellite from taking a picture. Reporting on Japan's decision, YouTuber Wes O'Donnell says that SAR is like sonar for satellites, and the image it generates not only offer better clarity than a traditional satellite image, but are also more up-to-date. When you compare 2 SAR images over the same location over time, you can spot changes, tire tracks, shifted soil, even vehicles moving under camouflage. Ukraine gets to see it all, meaning Japan has just provided what may prove to be the most vital weapon Ukraine has in its arsenal for fighting against Russia. Putin's forces can't hide anymore. They can't obscure their vehicles or rely on the weather to move equipment. Ukraine's new all-seeing "I can spot it all as it happens," meaning Russia faces a direct response whenever it tries to do anything. As for how Japan got its hands on this technology, it all comes down to internal innovation. The concept of SAR is nothing new. However, it's expensive to implement, with ISI pointing out that a single SAR satellite can weigh as much as 224. Getting one into the skies is a challenge, never mind launching a full array. But Japan's IQPS has already overcome that problem. According to the Japanese government website, IQPS is one of only 5 private companies in the world that has managed to develop, operate, and capture images with SAR satellites that are far smaller and thus more cost-effective than those ISI mentions. Each IQPS satellite weighs just 220 pounds, costs a fraction of the price of a larger SAR satellite, and is still able to capture images with a resolution of just 18.1 inches. That's close enough to ID specific vehicles, tents, and military hardware. And thanks to SAR, Ukraine can now ID all of that stuff regardless of whether it's a clear day or its territory is being buffeted by a snowstorm. It makes no difference. Anytime, be it day or night, Ukraine can see exactly what Russia's troops are doing on the ground thanks to Japan, IQPS, and SAR. And IPS will soon have plenty of these satellites in the skies. On March 14th, Rocket Lab confirmed that it had completed the Successful launch of ASAR on behalf of the Japanese company. More importantly, according to Space News, Rocket Launch added that this launch was the first of 8 that is under contract to deliver to IQPS. 6 of those launches are scheduled for 2025, meaning Ukraine's new eye in the sky is only going to get stronger this year. The other 2 are scheduled for 2026. The March launch also followed a separate launch of an IQPSR satellite in December 2023, meaning that by the end of 2026, Ukraine will have around 10 of these satellites generating battlefield imagery for it. And it gets worse for Russia. Japan isn't the only country that has given Ukraine access to SAR technology. United 24 Media reports that Ukraine is already working alongside several of its other allies, including Germany, Italy, and Finland, to get SAR images. In the latter case, Finland provides access to ISIS-R tech, meaning the very company we use to explain how SAR works is providing direct support to Ukraine. The 3 countries we just mentioned have all been providing direct military aid to Ukraine since Putin launched his invasion. According to the Kiel Institute, Germany has committed 18.44 billion euros in aid, the majority of which is military. Italy and Finland are lesser donors, though they've still given plenty. 1.59 billion from Italy and 3.17 billion from Finland. All 3 have also contributed as part of their membership in the European Union. The organization has given over euro 138 billion to Ukraine so far, more than the United States, with another 122 billion still to be allocated. Japan has been generous, too. It currently ranks 5th behind the US, EU, UK, and Germany as Ukraine's largest donor. However, the difference here is that almost none of what Japan has provided has been direct military support up until now. Japan has provided $1.74 billion in humanitarian aid, along with about $10.6 billion of financial